Hello, very good morning to all of you. My name is Sanjay Kumar, and you are watching Travers. And I am here with Honorable Member of Parliament, Mr. Sujit Kumar, who is here to share his journey with all of you. And I know Sujit ji as a friend, as an admirer, and I personally appreciate him a lot because of his humility, simplicity, and he has been an inspiration to many of us, and for the younger generation. So welcome Sujit ji to the show. So to begin with, मैं जानना चाहूँगा और मैं चाहूँगा कि हमारे दर्शक जाने what has been your journey, as a social entrepreneur, as an advocate, and as a politician. आप ये तीनों चीज़ में, तीनों सेक्टर में काफ़ी काम किया आपने. So how did it start? As a student, if you can start from the beginning and share your journey a bit with our viewers, that would be fantastic.
Thank you, Sanjay, for having me for this wonderful initiative that you have started called the Travers. I grew up in a district called Kalahandi in western part of Odisha, which you might know or your viewers might know. Is fairly rural.
Yes.
And I completed my 12th in the district. Thereafter, I went to do my engineering in a government engineering college in Odisha. After completing engineering, I joined Infosys. As you might recall, Infosys was one of the most sought after companies those days.
Correct.
And I got through Infosys, was fortunate enough, joined. But my heart was never in the corporate world. So after working with Infosys for a couple of years, I decided to quit without really knowing what to do. All I knew was that I would never go back to the corporate world, A, and B, I would work with people. Then as luck would have it, UNDP was initiating a project in western part of Odisha, where I hail from, to work with communities. And I applied without really knowing much about it. And I got selected, and I started working in a rural village in western Odisha. I ended up working there for 2.5 years. And while I was there, I thought I should go for higher studies. Initially, I thought I would do a PhD in development economics or in development science. But then I wasn't ready to opt out of real world that long, because PhD would take you 4 or 5 years.
Correct.
Into the academic world. And I thought that's too long. Let me do a 1 year or a 2 year program. Then I settled for an MBA, and I started preparing for GMAT, CAT, and there was I was in the block. I was staying in the block headquarters, but it was a very
In Kalahandi.
It's actually in another district neighboring Kalahandi.
Correct.
And the block had a dial-up connection. Now we are talking of 5G and 6G, but in those days, we had dial-up connection with 56 kbps speed.
Mm-hmm.
And the block development officer was a young officer.
Mm-hmm.
I befriended him, and then he allowed me to use the internet connection of the block office after the office hours. And while I was there, I started applying for, I started preparing for GMAT, CAT, and applying for different universities outside India, and also for the IIMs.
Mm-hmm.
I got selected to 5 IIMs, and I also got accepted to Oxford.
Wow.
Oxford not only accepted me, but they gave me a full scholarship because they found my story so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I left a high-paying corporate job, and I was working.
You mean that is School of Business?
Aside the School of Business, yeah. And I was working with this rural community, and the project was supported by UNDP, but my salary was being paid by a local NGO. And it was almost 1/4 of what I was earning at Infosys. 1/5 actually.
Okay.
So I got a full scholarship. I went to Oxford for my MBA, and then that was 2004. But I was absolutely clear that I would spend a couple of years abroad and then I would come back. There was absolute clarity in my mind that I would come back into India and continue working with people, with communities, with people. While I was working with this local NGO, with communities, that's the time, I guess, when this idea of getting into politics germinated in my mind. Because I used to not only work with communities, we also interacted with the local sarpanch, with the local MMA, with other political leaders. I realized that the possibility to effect change in politics is humongous. And civil society can only do so much.
Correct.
The scale, the impact is limited.
Correct.
If you are a political representative, then the canvas of impacting the lives of people is huge. So I guess the idea of getting into politics started taking shape in my mind, but it was still.
So when you were at Oxford?
No, this was when I was working with the communities, with the NGO.
So before Oxford?
Before Oxford. So I started working with this NGO in early 2002 until 2004.
Okay.
So 2.5 years.
Okay.
From there I went to Oxford.
Okay.
From Oxford I went to Geneva to work for the World Economic Forum. And then I worked with is a think tank called the EWC, East West Center. That's in Hawaii, briefly. And then I went to the Canadian School to do another master, which I did my master in public administration.
Yeah.
This was 2010. And then I relocated back to India in 2011. So I came back to India with the intention of starting my legal practice, and I wanted to focus on public interest litigation, pro bono legal service, and those kind of things, which I did, and I'm still doing.
So did you have that roadmap in your mind by then that I have to, do my legal practice or build my profile or come closer to people, public, so that you can enter into politics? Did you have something in mind?
Not exactly. All I knew was that I would go back to India, and I come from a family of lawyers, and I grew up studying law, seeing my father. I used to study in his chamber, so I was always fascinated by law.
God.
And also, I've always been fascinated by the potential of law, meaningful changes in the lives of people. Because it's a very, very powerful instrument. Our constitution has empowered our judiciary and given it so much of authority to really bring positive changes in society and in the lives of people. So I wanted to come back to India, and then I decided to start my legal practice. I started my practice in the Odisha High Court, and as luck would have it, in 2012 I got an opportunity to meet the Honorable CM of Odisha, and I started working with him, and one thing led to other.
So you joined him as an OSD?
That came much later. I didn't have any formal title when I joined him in 2012.
Okay.
I started working for him, started handling his social media. Sometimes I wrote his speeches. Then I was involved. I was part of his team that was into election strategy for the 2014 elections. And I guess he was pleased with my work. He was satisfied with my contribution to the party and to him, and then he started giving me more and more responsibilities, bigger responsibilities. And in 2016 he asked me to join the government, which I did as OSD. So I was looking after the planning.
So when you joined him, was it a kind of fan moment for you that you have been watching him as a CM or a tall figure in the state?
Yes.
And you also wanted to bring change, and he was already doing it?
Yes.
What moment it was like? Do you remember?
Yes, of course. I have always admired him. He became CM in 2000, and I was working with Infosys in those days. Those who know Odisha will recall that prior to 2000, Odisha was almost at the bottom of every socio-economic indicator and parameter, almost at par with Bihar and other Bimaru states, with all due respect to these states. In the last 20, 22, 23 years, we have come miles ahead, to the extent that we are almost a middle income state now. In almost every HDI, we are in the top 10, if not better, at least in the top 10, 12.
Correct.
And Niti Aayog has commended the growth and development of Odisha repeatedly.
Correct.
And this has happened because of the inspiring leadership of Navin Patnaik. So to start with, prior to 2000, we had the Congress government for 15 years in Odisha, which was mired with extreme corruption and lawlessness and typical Congress culture. So people were so fed up with the state of affairs that they voted for the BJP alliance. We were in alliance with BJP until 2009. BJP was formed in 1997. And then he became CM in 2000, and then he started focusing on making the governance and administration corruption free, clean administration. People just loved it. And then he has been winning elections after elections. And we are all set to win the 6th election in 2024.
So when did you join him?
I joined him informally in 2012.
2012.
And then formally I joined his government in 2016 as OSD. Yeah. OSD comes special second.
Okay. So that continued for few years before you became...
3 years. So I had to resign because it was a political appointment. So before the 2019 elections, I had to resign. because code of conduct, the model code of conduct. And then after the elections, again, I guess he was happy with my contribution to the party. We came back with a thumping majority in Odisha, and we also won 12 out of the 21 Lok Sabha seats. So he made me the advisor to the Special Development Council in the rank of Chief Secretary, which is an extreme honor, which is a huge honor, because the first instance, certainly in Odisha, and I'm not sure if there has been such an instance in other states, but I'm told it's the first instance in the entire country where a non-civil servant was given the rank of Chief Secretary. So that was a huge honor for me. Thanks.
And then when did you become?
And 2020 March, he called me. I remember the date, on 7th of March.
Okay.
And then he told me, I'm sending you to Parliament. I guess, I owe my coming to Parliament to my leader, Sri Naveen Patnaik, to the love and affection of people, and to destiny.
What a fantastic journey! Very inspirational and very, it's a journey which any middle class young boy, young girl would like to be in that journey. So what a fantastic journey! How do you make balance between your political, social commitments and your legal commitments? So you have three responsibilities: political, social, and legal. And I guess you must be getting hundreds of calls every day from your from Orissa, from your constituency, wherever. So
Average is 250.
Average call is 250 a day. And how many WhatsApp?
WhatsApp, you don't count. It's not possible to keep that call.
Yeah.
So I try my best to reply to the individual WhatsApp messages.
Okay.
But I'm rarely able to go through the group messages. Because you get added to like tons of groups, dozens and dozens of groups.
Yeah.
So I'm not even sure how many groups I'm a part of. Probably a few hundred groups. So it's humanly not possible. But let me, before I answer this, Sanjay, I'd like to state that I didn't have any political background. No one in my family has ever been in that.
That's why it is more legislational. Yeah.
No political legacy.
Yeah.
So oftentimes people ask me, that is it possible to gain a foothold in politics without a famous last name?
Yeah.
It is difficult.
Yeah.
The barrier to entry is extremely high in politics.
Yeah.
And luck plays a role.
Yeah.
As I said, destiny got me here.
Yeah.
There are enough number of bright youngsters in Odisha who couldn't, who want to be in politics, who want to be members of parliament, but haven't made it.
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky enough to be introduced to the CM in 2012.
Yeah.
Had it not happened, probably I wouldn't have been here.
Yeah. It's about access also.
But having said that, today there is enough opportunity and scope for young people to make a mark in politics.
Mm-hmm.
And politics, by politics I do not only mean electoral politics.
Yeah.
There are many other ways of being in politics and contributing to the public life in India.
Yeah.
And I would urge more and more youngsters to be in politics.
Yeah. So that I was going to ask you that, and you already gave that message. A lot of students are nowadays pursuing public policy as a mean to be closer to the politics. And somehow I feel that, more of these youngsters, they should enter politics. How do you see that this public policy angle, or them being in the public policy, serving, the country or society per se? And also, what distinction you see, and do you think that rather than being in public policy, they should also try to get into hardcore politics, because our country requires a lot of youngsters and good people in politics?
I would say both. See, we are the most youthful nation in the world.
Correct.
2/3 of our population is under 35.
Okay.
Half of our population is under 25.
Okay.
So we have this huge demographic dividend.
Correct.
And for a very long time, we had a situation where our political leaders were not so young.
Mm-hmm.
If I put it mildly.
Yeah.
To be senior was a badge of honor in politics.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, things are changing now. The average age of Indian MP is coming down.
Okay.
The average age of Indian MLAs is coming down.
Mm-hmm.
We have many youngsters in Rajya Sabha, which is supposedly the House of Elders.
Correct.
So I'm 48, and I would say there are at least 50 MPs who are under 50.
Correct.
In Rajya Sabha, which is a very healthy signal. Now, when you have a young nation, you need to reflect the mood of the youngsters. And that can only happen when you have more youngsters in public life.
Correct.
And through public life, I mean electoral politics and also policy making. Whether it's through think tanks, whether it's through the back offices of political party. Today, every political party has a huge army of youngsters, consultants, and team members who help them to do election campaign strategy. Help them with the social media strategy. Help them with giving a proper narrative to the nation, to the electorate.
So the political ecosystem has many roles to play.
Furthermore,
as there are many roles where these youngsters can be deployed.
And every ministry, both in government of India and state governments, also have started hiring young minds. Who can help them
as young professionals.
Young professionals. Exactly. Almost every state government today has a young professional program.
Correct.
Because technology is evolving fast, and this is the age of technology.
Correct.
And youngsters are the ones who understand technology and use technology. They leverage technology much better than others, right? So you need youngsters. And you through technology in a country with 1.4 billion population and as vast as ours, and with so many social challenges, so many economic challenges, you need technology to leverage technology to resolve these challenges.
Correct.
Or to mitigate at least some challenges.
Correct.
And this can only happen when you have young mind.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And I'm so happy to note that more and more youngsters who have studied in the best of universities in the world are living very well paid jobs in consulting, in banking, in stock market, and are coming back to India. And then getting into public life.
I think there is a strong motivation for young people to get into policy making and politics, which is a very good signal.
Correct.
Very positive signal. So coming back to my question, how do you make a balance between your responsibilities?
It's a very tough balance, particularly because politics is a very difficult terrain. I would say it's the hardest profession on earth. Because your life really is not yours anymore. In a way
that's why it is public life. It's called public life.
Correct. And particularly with the advent of social media, it has become much harder. Because now you are 24/7 available, and people expect you to reply to the messages at 2 a.m. in the morning. People expect you to take calls every time they call you. And even if a hand pump is not working in a remote village in, let's say, Kalandi, which is really the work of a sarpanch, people will tag you with the photograph of the broken hand pump and say, hey, see what our useless MP, what is he doing, I mean, say, I'm not blaming them. Because if I'm a poor villager, it is their expectation. Yes, but it's right. I don't care whether my MP is sitting in Delhi doing bigger things.
They see you as a problem fixer. You have to fix the problem of the...
For me, the problem of my village is immediate.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And also I've chosen the legal profession, which is again very demanding. So I've chosen two more demanding professions, I would say. That has made it extremely difficult for me. I'll admit that my family life has really suffered a lot. I've not been able to give time to my son who is growing and is now 16. I've not been able to give time to my wife, parents. Of course, they are fully old now. It's a tough balance. It's a tough balance.
Essentially, the family becomes bigger. So the family, the immediate family and the larger family, it's a tough balance to be made.
I try to do yoga. So there is one thing which I've been at least consistent with is my morning yoga ritual. So 1 hour yoga.
So you find time every day.
Almost every day. When I go to Kalandi, it becomes difficult. But then I go for walk, and that's also a way for me to meet the constituent. I don't get time to do yoga, but I go for walk, and then I guess that compensates. But whenever I'm in Delhi or in Bhubaneswar, I try to do yoga for an hour. I try to read a lot.
Wonderful.
Whenever I've been traveling so much. One good aspect of traveling much is that you get time in the flight because you're not disturbed. So your phones don't work. So you get time to read. And that also is a sort of relaxation. And I have a very good reading habit.
Wonderful. So you went to both Harvard and Oxford. Any youngster would, have a dream of going to either of these institutions. So you have been to both these places. It's such a, a great achievement. So what are some of the lessons and skills that both these institutions taught you that you brought back to India? Can you share some light? Can you share some thought?
I would say the biggest lesson that I learned at both Oxford and Harvard, particularly at Oxford, is time management. Yes. You were just talking about time management, balance your time. And,
In what way they taught you time management?
Because see, Oxford, I went to Oxford to do my MBA at the Side Business School, and it's a 1-year MBA program.
Correct.
And the school has squeezed 2 years content into 1 year. So it was so intense.
Nice.
It was almost inhuman. So, and deliberately they have done that because they want you to, to learn to prioritize. They want you to learn to work in team and get things done with limited resources, with limited time. And so it was a wonderful learning experience for me, which is helping me a lot in politics and in political world. Because there's n number of things to do in politics. There are n number of things to do in the legal world also. Though I have a good team of junior lawyers, but most of the clients, they expect me to go and argue in the court, or me to be their first point of contact. So learning that time management was a great skill. And then the second skill I would say is how do you, because time is a resource, so is money. How do you get things done with limited resources? Particularly in a developing country like India, where our resources are limited, we need to have the policies and the frameworks and the governance mechanism where you get more things done with limited resources. And this skill I learned more at the Kennedy School at Harvard. So I guess apart from the skills, the brand Oxford and Harvard also is helping me a lot in politics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a reality which I have to admit. I think there are any number of more competent and more talented people in every walk of life.
It can, for many people, what I have heard or seen, that it can go another way. That, he is from Harvard. So, isko to zameen ka kuch pata hi nahi hoga. Ya isko to, did you face something like this? Because I have heard about it and I have seen he Oxford, Harvard se aaye hain, to India ke baare mein kya pata hoga?
Not for me, because I came from the grassroots.
Yeah.
See, I grew up in Kalandi. Spent the first 18 years of my life there. Born and brought up in Kalandi.
Yeah.
I have seen poverty firsthand.
Yeah.
So, and then even when I went to do my engineering and I started working for Infosys, I left that to go back to my roots. Worked with a local NGO for 2.5 years. Completely community. I was staying with the community.
Yeah.
You can think of the most barren existence. So that was my existence for 2.5 years. Went abroad, studied, worked there for a couple of years, came back.
So your grounding is very important.
Even today, I spend almost 8 to 10 days in a month in Kalandi.
Yeah. So your grounding is very important. And what I see, Sujit bhai, today is that a lot of this, I am so happy that you mentioned about your roots and your association affinity to the grassroots. What I see today, a big change in the development sector or the impact sector, now they call it impact sector. Where I see today is that most of the youngsters or most of these big NGOs or big consulting company, they are based out of big cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore. Not many of them. I don't have a data to say or to back it, but what I see is that they are sitting in big cities and deciding upon what kind of work should be done by the NGOs or what kind of, program should be there. So do you see that it is growing? Because I also worked with Seva for 17 years and it was all grassroots work. But now I see that the youngsters, and it is connected with this Harvard, Oxford branding and what you are actually doing. And, when you are trying to do something in politics, people say that you are from Harvard, Oxford, you don't have that grassroots connection. So that is for politics. But for the development sector also, what I'm seeing that a lot of people have that real disconnect, and they are deciding upon the policy making of impact sector or development sector, and they are developing programs. Even in the funders, the those who are funding the grassroots projects. So, what do you think about this two dynamics which is changing?
Yeah, fortunately, Sanjay ji, I have never faced this because everyone knows that I'm
No, I'm very connected. Yeah, I understand your point. Yeah, yeah.
So yes, I have not faced it, even though I've been to these two universities and I stay in Delhi, I stay in Bhubaneswar. But because of my very intimate connect with the grassroots in Odisha, I've never faced this. But you're right. There is a strong disconnect. It's ironical that we talk about poverty and migration sitting in Taj Mansin.
Correct.
We talk about
That is what I meant. Yes.
it's very it's actually comical that you talk about development issues.
Yeah.
You talk about water scarcity. You talk about drought or any development issue sitting in Delhi or the state capitals.
Yeah.
So precisely because of this, I had organized a conference in Kalandi in the year 2018.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Kalandi Dialogue.
Yeah.
And the theme of the conference was talking development where it matters the most. So don't talk about development sitting in Taj Mansi or sitting in Mayfair, Bhubaneswar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come to Kalandi if you want to experience it.
Yeah.
And mind you, Kalandi didn't have an airport. The nearest airport was Raipur 5 hours away.
Yeah.
Or Bhubaneswar 8 hours away.
Yeah.
And we had participants from 9 different countries, including Nobel laureates, many development practitioners, academics, politicians, media celebrities. And we told them, you have to travel to Kalandi, you can't join virtually. And there's no airport. You will have the basic facilities. We don't have fancy hotels in Kalandi. Yeah. If you want to experience the real face of development, then you have to travel there.
Yeah.
And more than 400 participants came, more than 200 students from different IITs, IIMs, the top universities of India came, and it was a huge success.
Yeah.
So I'm completely with you that particularly international NGOs.
Yeah.
Yeah. They need to understand that rural India is much different from what you see from Delhi or from the state capitals.
Yeah.
So they need to ask their partner NGOs,
Yeah.
the implementing agencies, the local partners to be grounded and to spend more time in the grassroots.
Yeah. So, I completely see that happening in India. And anyway, so let's move on to our next question, because that's a longer discussion. So the next question is like, how do you define success and happiness in your life?
Oh, that's quite a philosophy.
Yes. Yeah. So we need to understand your philosophy. How do you?
I'll try to answer it. It's fairly simple. Success is having good health, having a good family life, being contented and happy. I think these are universal truth. It's the same for an emperor. It's the same for a commoner like me. It's same for I guess for everyone in this world. We need to be healthy first and foremost. Unless you're healthy, you can't be happy. Unless you're healthy, there are many things you can't do, right? So it's really important to be healthy, to be successful, and to be contented, I guess. To have a balanced life. You spoke about having a balanced life. Yeah. To have that mental peace. I think these are universal truth. It applies to me as much as it does to anyone else.
Okay, great.
So to be successful, I think there are some things which, and this applies particularly to our youngsters. There is no substitute to hard work. There is no substitute at all. I say this with all modesty, Sanjay ji, that I credit wherever I am today largely to my hard work. Of course, destiny has played a role, luck has played a role, but I believe in hard work, and I work a lot.
And especially if you are a first generation in doing something, if there is no legacy, then
See, coming from Kalandi, I have friends who are much more talented and competent than there. I mean, they're happy. They're happy doing whatever they are. But if you define the materialistic success, I think I have more material success than them because of my hard work. Courage is another attribute that I think really contributes to success in life. Courage. Swami Vivekananda had said, "Fear is death, courage is life," and that has been my philosophy since childhood. I have read a lot about Swami Vivekananda. He has been my inspiration, my role model, and I truly believe that there is a difference between courage and overconfidence and arrogance. Courage is having that quiet confidence that I'm capable of doing it. The world cannot define who I am.
You have to define yourself.
Yes.
You have to define your strength, inner strength.
And it could be, courage in things like public speaking, courage in believing in yourself, courage in, going and talking to anyone, courage in your hopes and your ambitions. So I'll urge the youngsters of today to have courage in themselves and to really work hard.
That's very important. So, you have worked in social entrepreneurship space quite a lot. And, I would like to know if you have any suggestion for any policy change in our country that can unlock the full potential of social entrepreneurship, or you think that everything is happening, what is your take on that?
See, I have been very passionate about education.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever little I've achieved in life is largely because of my education.
Mm-hmm.
So I really would want both government of India and the state governments to focus more on education.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying this. In fact, yesterday in Parliament also I spoke about it. I feel that we need to spend more on education.
Mm.
See, the Kothari Commission, way back in the 1960s, had recommended that we should spend 6% of our GDP on.
Correct. But we are still not doing it.
We are close to 3%.
Yeah.
If you add the state government spend, then it will be close to 4%.
Correct.
That's not enough.
Yes.
Right.
Definitely.
This year, thankfully, Government of India hiked its education budget by close to 13,000 crore, which is a good hike.
Mm-hmm.
But we really need to focus more on our primary education and secondary education.
Yeah.
We are in the third year of the new education policy, which I believe is a great policy. It's a very forward-looking policy.
Yeah. Of course.
But unless you spend more on education, unless you focus more on education, you cannot achieve the goals of the NEP. Okay. And as you know, education is the foundation of a nation.
Correct.
Right. So and we have all grown up saying that education is the best contraceptive, education is the best passport out of poverty, out of hunger.
Yeah.
And if you want to change society, education of the girl child is the best.
Yeah.
Best way.
Also, I think it is the only tool to bring in intra-generational change. Absolutely. It is the only tool that can bring intra-generational change.
So I guess I really hope that the government focuses more on education, which is happening. By the way, thankfully, this government and Odisha, I can say, in Odisha we have an education budget of 30,000 crore this year. The budget outlay, which is more than 12% of our state's GDP.
Correct.
Can you imagine? 12% of our state GDP is spent on education, which is, I think, one of the highest in the country. So that's the focus we have given for education in Odisha. And thankfully, Government of India also under PM Modi has been focusing more on education. I would want more of Dil Mangta more.
Yes, that is very much required. So tell me about your organization which you founded, Kalinga Kusum.
Yes.
So do you remember any story from your Kalinga Kusum days? You are still associated, as I understand. Do you remember any story from your Kalinga Kusum days that still fuel your passion to do more about rural empowerment or empowerment in rural areas?
Kalinga Kusum started in the year 2011, after I came back from India. And the focus was to work with tribal people, largely tribal women, to offer them digital literacy, legal literacy, financial literacy, health and hygiene. The reason we focus on these areas is because there's very, very little literacy. I mean, digital literacy, of course, came much later, but financial literacy particularly and legal literacy, there is very little literacy amongst tribal people, particularly women. Because of this, they suffer a lot. Now, we had a cheat fund scam in Odisha, West Bengal, and other states.
All the places.
In many other places also. Families have been ruined. They lost their entire life saving. So they would save money, let's say 20,000 rupees, to spend on the daughter's education or to spend on any eventuality. And this fly by night operators,
They come and they
promise them
all their savings.
will double their money in 3 months, double their money in 6 months. And this poor soul, they would believe them, they would part their entire money with them, and then they would lose it all. So this got us thinking that this is the area we should focus on, we should start working on. And I take pride in telling you, Sanjay ji, today that we have trained over 14,000 tribal women, offered them basic financial literacy, how to open a bank account, what is saving, how not to fall into the trap.
That's
the same much company. Given them basic legal literacy, what is an FIR, what is the responsibility of the police, what are your duties which the Constitution has given you as a citizen, as a woman, and as a tribal woman, right? So this has really empowered them. So I'm wonderful. There are many such stories. So I've given you the broad theme of the work that we do.
No, wonderful. Thank you so much, Sujit ji. It was great having you on the show, and thanks to all our viewers. And I think whatever lessons or whatever we heard from Sujit ji, it's very inspiring, and I'm sure it will inspire many of the youngsters of our country, children, to follow some of his suggestions and follow his footsteps, and thanks for watching Travers, and we will be back with another great episode very soon.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. Pleasure talking to you.